Thank you so much for being here. And I'm very fascinated about like all of your life experiences so far. And thank you so much for like contributing so much to Hong Kong in particular, from like Ocean Park to Lan Kwai Fong, and also in the fashion industry before. And I feel that you always have so much wisdom and you share a lot with young people as well. And particularly about Ocean Park, I'm very curious about like this journey because I saw that the organizers actually invited you 6 times before you said yes. So I was wondering when you finally agreed, was it because you have a plan in mind when you revitalized the park, or did you accept it out of intuition?
Honestly, what happened was the chief executive at that time of Hong Kong was a guy called C.H. Tung Chi-Wah. And he was a friend of mine, basically. And he called me one day and said that, Disney is coming to Hong Kong. And because, Disney was going to open up in Asia and Hong Kong was going to be the first place. I knew nothing about theme parks. I knew nothing about theme parks. But of course, I knew the Disney name. I'd never been to Disney, but, I knew Disney. And so he said to me, we'll probably have Disney is coming. We have Ocean Park, which is a park. And it's been, we've had it, for many, many years, but it's been losing money all the time. And now with Disney, some people are saying Disney comes. Some people are saying close the park. Some people are saying keep the park open. So I said, he said, I don't know what to do, but I need your help. He said, can you go? And I'd never been to Ocean Park. My kids kind of went there, but I never went there. I was always a businessman. I was always very busy. And so I said to him, let me think about it. And so he said, no, I really need you to go. In essence, I said, well, I'll call you back. But then he kept calling me 6 times. By the 6th time, I figured I'll put a Chinese trick and I'll give him a face. And I said, okay, I'll go. Right? I didn't want him to lose face. And so I went to the park. It was my first time in the park. And the park was really falling apart. The pavement was broken. The paint was peeling. They looked like they were really going out of business rather than going to stay in business. And but I looked at the surroundings. The hillside was amazing. It was beautiful. The water was on the water, the hillside, all the other things that, nature. So I saw potential. I looked at it differently than what existed. And if you want to do something really great, you really need to do something that people really will appreciate. People will really say, wow. And so I thought to myself, this place looks like it's going out of business. And the staff, they all were wearing uniforms from the 1950s that the government had supplied to them. So it looked so coming from the fashion business, it looked so out of it. I thought there's no way with Disney coming, it's the biggest theme park brand in the world. There's no way that we can, continue to have, parks like this. And so I called him back and I said, Chief Executive said, what do you think, what do you have in mind? I said, if I, he says, well, I don't know. I don't have anybody else. He said, if not, I have to give it to a government employee to run the park, right? I thought to myself, unfortunately, most governments don't have creativity. You'll find out all over the world. They're good at making promises and saying things, but they're very uncreative. And so I thought to myself, rather than give it to a government park, you may as well close the park. But I said, you know what, in that case, for the people of Hong Kong, I'll try it. I'll do it. Now, again, I'd never been in a theme park business before. I only saw it once, and also the food was unedible, at the time, because it was really cheap. And really, if you wanted to get a decent meal, you had to leave the park, get something in a restaurant back again. It was just terrible. And so then I thought to myself, okay, So I started in the park, and again, not knowing anything about it, I knew I needed some management. I need to get people that really know theme parks. So I started. We did a company search for individuals for theme parks, and one guy called Tom Merman showed up from the U.S. And he'd run Knott's Berry Farm for many years, California, and many different. He'd been in the business 20 odd years, but I liked him, and he was in Europe at the time, so I hired him on the spot, even though it was a government-run park and I had to run through the government. I didn't care.
Right.
I just decided to do it. And so I went ahead and we started to put a management team together, a good young management team together. And then we came up with a vision of how we could change the park with Disney coming. We made a chart and we said, what is Disney? Disney is it's about fiction, it's about fantasy, it's and it's all mechanical. You can go to Disney, see the show one day, but you go back the next day, same show.
Right.
And it's an import. And then it's about a mouse, Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse was a big thing. I thought to myself, for ourselves, right, for Ocean Park, on the list, wow, it was totally different. On the list, it was we had a totally different thing. It was a local park. Parents grew up with Ocean Park, grandparents grew up with Ocean Park, and children grew up with Ocean Park. So there was a relevance there instead of an import. There also, because we had live animals, like we had pandas at the time, we had we had like SeaWorld kind of lions, everything. And you can go see pandas one day, they're fighting, the next day they're hanging from a tree. And the third day, expect the unexpected, totally different than Disney, where you see the same thing over and over and over again. And so I thought to myself, that's great. And so at that point, I decided, wow, I'll do it. I called up and said, I'll do it. And so we came up with this plan, and we knew we hired designers, went around to U.S. where the theme parks are so big, and hired some designers from the U.S. and really put in our own input. Understanding that Ocean Park is about education, about the ocean, about conservation, and making it fun. So we call it edutainment. And the next thing, it really turned out to be, the park, we started to totally redo it. Disney was coming. And the other thing I did was the food. I fired the original company that was supplying the food, and I did everything in-house. And then the other thing I did was I upgraded the uniforms for the staff, so they looked really professional. And from what before was like a scowl on their face, suddenly everybody was happy. It was a real happy place. And so we started off, and we started to do really, really well. But then we didn't have a lot of money. Disney had a lot of money to spend. So now I thought to myself, how can I walk against Disney with no money, with very little money? And what I did was I decided to do a what do you call it? We opened up what we called a part of the park, like the old park. Everybody used to come and eat. Hold on, I'm just losing the word.
Like the animal area?
No. The jellyfish. Yeah. Yeah, jellyfish. So, and I realized that Hong Kong people, Chinese people, love jellyfish. They love to eat them. And knowing nothing about jellyfish, I asked my animal experts. I said, "Do we get jellyfish?" there's 2,000 species of jellyfish in the world. We get a lot from Japan, a lot from Taiwan, a lot from Hong Kong waters, and so I said, oh, are they expensive? No, easy to get. I said, great. Why don't we do a jellyfish attraction for our first attraction at the park, because I had to change things and not spend a lot of money. And because at the old park, people used to come around with their camera phones and take pictures of the jellyfish in a small tank. Not myself.
Wow.
It's really something. So then we took one of the old Halloween houses that we had and made different rooms with different jellyfish tanks and with different jellyfish and lit them all differently. And it was a great. And we spent $1 million US actually on.
Oh, that's
it didn't have to do nothing, It's not fun. And then I decided for my first press conference, we don't have the money for advertising. So I asked my marketing team, what are the staff going to be? What do we have for the marketing for the first press event when I was chairman? So they said, oh, well, we have three little jellyfish girls, three little girls dressed as jellyfish that I think will will go out with. And so they said, what do you want to do? So I thought to myself, you know what? If I'm working for a bank, I need to wear a suit and tie and all that, a jacket.
Yeah.
But in a park, it's about fun. It's fun entertainment. I said, okay, I'll dress as a jellyfish. And he said, what? Come to Ocean Park dressed as a jellyfish? I said, yeah, why not? And sure enough, I 2 weeks later, the press event, all the press was outside, photographers, everything at the park. And I came to the park and I saw the three little girls dressed as jellyfish in the dressing room. And I said, oh God, and so they gave me my costume. I got dressed up, looked in the mirror. I looked ridiculous, the jellyfish costume on. I thought, it's too late because the event's already planned. All the press are outside, media. Went out dressed as a jellyfish. Well, the press went crazy, and the photographers taking pictures. Yeah, it was a very big event. And that picture of me dressed as a jellyfish went around the world, actually, every on the front page of almost all the newspapers everywhere, because newspapers just want to sell paper at that time. Now it's different, it's online, but at that time, so I was news, basically, the chairman of Ocean Park dressed as a jellyfish. And I realized, we didn't have money for advertising, but this was free advertising. And and when we did the vision to redo the park, I always say when I looked at the park, I look at things not for what they are. I look at things for what they could be. So I always look at things, whatever it is, I always look at things very different. And the same as say Jack Ma, all the people that are, Steve Jobs, they think differently. Everybody else sees one thing. The people that do great things are the ones that kind of look at things and see things differently than the average person sees. And so I've always used that motto to see how things can really be improved and look totally different, and think totally different. And today, obviously, with AI coming and all that, it's a game changer for the world. You can do a lot of very, very creative things. And so
exactly.
At that time we didn't have that, and so the park opened up, and we had the jellyfish attraction, and it was just great. It's so many people coming. And people loved going through the different rooms and seeing the different jellyfish, the way we presented it. Circular tanks, instead of a normal tank, we did round tanks, we did square tanks, we did all kinds of things. Yeah, we looked very, very creative. And at the end, and then we changed the food. The food was really, really good. And the attraction was really great. We upgraded the whole park, every single thing. The cable car from the lowland to the headland. The other thing was because we had a lowland and a headland that was separated, and a mountain was separated by just take the cable car. And then I saw that people used to wait. The only way to get to the Highland was to go take the cable car. But, when it's raining or it's very hot, old people will be standing in line waiting for it. I thought to myself, there's got to be an easier way. So I thought to myself, well, why can't we do like we have the MTR, the underground subway? Why can't we do an underground?
Creative.
Yeah, very creative. So I asked the government, and they said, no. Government, you always start to know. They said, no, I can't do, too expensive. It can't be done. I said, well, we have the underground. We have the MTR in Hong Kong, the subway. That machine, it just goes, you go into the ground. It is a machine that bores it, that goes round and round and moves the earth, being very simplistic, actually. And so I got a consultant in that said, of course it could be done, anything. I said, yes, of course. So I got a price, and then I said, let's go ahead, because I never listened to the government. I just did what I want, because I wasn't getting paid for being the chairman. So I thought, well, the worst way I was doing good for the community. In the worst way, they can fire me. They can fire me. I didn't care. But because with government, I understand all governments have restrictions and things that they can do, things that they can't. Of course. But if you want to do in business, you have a good idea, just do it. I always say, I have a saying, just follow Nike. Nike has a slogan, just do it, right? So I say, I always follow Nike, just do it. Don't think too much. If you think too much, you won't do it. Right? And at the end of the year, we beat Disney in profit and attendance. And then for 13 years in a row, I kept beating Disney with profit, because I kept dressing up. Every time we had new events, I knew every few months we need a new event, because people always want to think what's new, what's coming. And so I always dressed up in different crazy costumes, especially for Halloween and all the other things. And so we became very famous, and I became famous from that. Because the people loved it, the kids loved it, the older people loved it.
Of course.
And I became very well known in the theme park business, which I was never in the theme park business. I was in the fashion business before.
Yeah.
And in the 6th year that I was a chairman, we won the Applause Award, which is like the Academy Award in theme parks, And
wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, and so we won that. It's the first time a park, a government-owned park, had ever won anything like that. Because we beat every theme park in the world, and became the best park in the world. Yeah, and so I was very proud of it. And of course, the Hong Kong people were very, very proud, because as I said, parents grew up with Ocean Park, grandparents and children grew up with Ocean Park. So everybody really it was like China right now, the geopolitical problem between the U.S. and China. Well, when DeepSeek, when China came up with DeepSeek to challenge OpenAI, we're very, very proud, because we're losing 5 million, doing it for 5 million US, instead of 50 billion. And so, so everybody had a lot of faith, and everybody was really, really loved Ocean Park, and they still do now. And so I was there for 13 years, and then, of course, normally you're supposed to be there in a place for only 6 years, but I was there. I really helped to build the park into giving it a really good brand, and it showed Hong Kong people that we can build. With a little bit of innovation, we can really do anything, and we can beat best theme park in the world every year in a row. Attendance and in profit, we beat Disney.
Yeah.
Real achievement.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's so amazing. Yeah, it's so amazing like hearing all of those stories and like how you built Ocean Park from the ground up when it was like not that popular and everything wasn't so established to like changing the food, the uniforms, and even like dressing up as a jellyfish. I also saw the stories of you like inviting the government officials over to experience it and just like you think from all different perspectives, as you mentioned how like business people or like newcomers should also try to innovate and think from different angles, and that's very very inspiring. And
And that's very,
yeah.
very important, for any business, for anything you do, always think out of the box. You know,
Hmm.
um, the norm is the norm that everybody uh, does. Be
Right.
different. If you want to be great, be different. And that's the most important thing. I mean, all you guys, I see a lot of people here, and you're all young and in universities or whatever, but honestly, look at things different than, or think differently, and think the can-do spirit. How can I make this different? How can I make? And even when I go into a business or I have a business, I always look at it not as a boss. I look at it as a customer. Because if you're a boss, you'll be very arrogant and you say, "Oh, this is the way it has to be," and I think it's the best. But challenge yourself. Look at things through customers' eyes and see what's the competition. Would I buy this product? Will I use this product? Why would I buy it? Why is it better than what I have or whatever? How can I make mine better? And so keep challenging yourself and keep always thinking, go for blue sky.
Hmm.
Always think differently.
Yeah, that is so true. And that advice is super helpful to us because like you've worked across so many different fields from like food and beverage to like Lan Kwai Fong, and also you were a salesman when you were just like 17 or 19. So I feel like all of that is so applicable to us. And like given that you've met so many people, I'm wondering like how do you read or understand people's minds? Like not only customers but also like business partners, and has that understanding of different people and like the way you approach interpersonal relationships also changed over your career and your path?
Well, every business is different. You're right. I've been everything from trading a fashion business, trading company. I started my own business when I was 19, actually, and made my first
Wow. Hmm.
19. That's what brought me to Hong Kong. And so I think that really the important thing is that if you're there's always, everybody has different ideas, so I'm still the chairman of Wynn, the hotel casinos in Macau, the ones that you have in Las Vegas. At that time, I
It's a
thought,
beautiful hotel. I've visited a couple of years ago, and I remember like the waterfalls and the cable cars, and that is something like Ocean Park too. It's
yeah,
like
well,
beautiful.
so that, yeah, the park is, I mean, the hotel is beautiful. And but that's another business that you kind of, and of course, Las Vegas Wynn has always been a big brand. And
Hmm.
so you adapt to different industries, and that, as you say, right? Now we do property construction, a lot of property, build a lot of things, both in Thailand and Hong Kong, and have a hotel in Thailand. And we're building a new condominium project, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, and so what we do always is using what I call fashion. Life is about fashion. Everything is fashion, no matter what
Hmm.
the industry is or what business you're in or what you're doing. It's all about something's in fashion now. AI is the buzzword now for every single thing, right?
Yeah.
Years there'll be something else. We come from every kind of angle to
Hmm.
what I think is the future, and now the future's moving quicker than with social media and all that. It's really moving as quick as faster than the speed of light, actually. And so I think
Right.
that each one of you needs to really decide what you love doing. You know, and I always, when I give speeches, a lot of times to students, I say, don't listen to your parents. And everybody says, what do you mean, don't listen to your parents? Because parents, especially in Asia, they didn't have the chance to maybe go to university or go into business.
Right.
So they always wanted their son or their daughter to be a doctor or a lawyer or some profession that they couldn't go in. They think that's the right thing. I'm joking when I say don't listen to your parents. Of course, you have to listen to your parents. But what I say is do what you love doing. Choose whatever you think is whatever field it is, whatever you feel confident in, whether it's technology, whether it's fashion, whether it's art, culture, they're all businesses, they're all jobs. And so I think, but if you love what you're doing, you'll be very good at it. You'll be great at it. And it won't be a job. You'll just love being around it and surround yourself with people who think like you, and some that don't think like you, but can make you think harder, by challenging you. And I always say, when you're working in a team, if you're going to start up with your own business or whatever, it's like putting a sports team together, a champion sports team together. You need different players in each position who are very, very good or outstanding in order to be the top team. And, you need defense, you need goalie, you need forwards, you need, whatever it is. But it's no different in the business. You want people in every facet of whatever business you're in to be great at things, and then work together with people, and don't be arrogant. Work closely.
Right.
We work together with people, and as a leader, the staff always say there's no bad staff. There's bad leaders, because the staff looks up to the leader to say, well, they come to work every day. What are we going to do? What are we going to do next? That kind of thing. So I think it's really, really important that you have a vision. Leaders should have a vision and think about future. Think about how we could and make your staff believers in where the direction of the company, of where you're going. That's really something that I've always found is really, really important. If they admire you and they believe what your picture you're painting for them, they'll work harder and do very well.
Yeah, I think that advice is very, very helpful to us because we're in our 19 or 20 years old right now, and you already established a business back then when you were 19, which is so impressive. And now I'm particularly fascinated about how you said Lan Kwai Fong stands for love, kindness, and friendship. And with your advice just now, thinking outside of the box, paving our own path, I really see how you actually crafted your own journey with these values too. So I'm also curious to know more about the idea of Lan Kwai Fong from its very beginnings to now, because I see you partnered with the city of Xi'an. You went to Wuxi and also set up a dream city while introducing some restaurants and brands from China, back to the concept of Lan Kwai Fong and with the Halloween festival. So I would love to hear more about that too.
Well, basically, Lan Kwai Fong started about 35 years ago.
Wow.
And at that time, Hong Kong was different. We had it was under British administration. The British were here pre-1997. After 1997, Hong Kong got handed over to China, and so we had a lot of expats in Hong Kong at the time, and I was in the fashion business trading company at the time. We were exporting to different countries. It started, when I came out at 19, because I was importing sweaters and other commodities into the United States and Canada. And so, as I said, I made my first million when I was 19. And so I decided that Um, and then I was in Canada at the time, Montreal at the time. And what brought me to Hong Kong, I'll back up, is I sat down with the accounts at the end of the year. I'll have a check for, and I said I have a check for $1 million because I thought I'm rich now, because my dad died when I was 7 years.
Yeah.
Kind of brought myself up. And I said, I said, I'll have a check for $1 million. And they said, not so fast. I said, why? You have to pay tax. I said, tax? You're kidding. How much? They told me in Canada at the time was 50%, 50. And I said, 50%?
A lot.
Who gets the tax? Well, socialized medicine, socialized this, socialized that. Someone has to pay for it. So now I thought to myself, how, like, still a lot of money, 500,000. So I said to the accountant, I said, I have to check for $500,000. Not so fast again. You have to pay tax again. I said, just pay tax. That's corporation tax. You have to declare a dividend at a lesser rate. So I think I wound up with around 425,000 out of my $1 million. And I said, how does anyone get rich in this country? They said, he said, everyone pays tax, And so I was in Hong Kong on a bike trip, and I asked the government at the time, my buying officer, said, what's the tax in Hong Kong? It was 15%, 15%. I went off in my head, and I said, wow. I said, how many years are going to make $1 million if I'm in Canada? I may as well move to Hong Kong. That's what brought me to Hong Kong. And so I always felt, something else that you guys should do. We all come from the same place. We all come from our mother. Everyone had a mother. Everyone on this call had a mother and a father, hopefully. And and then I say death is the great equalizer. We all go to the same place. Rich, poor, it doesn't matter who you are, and we all wind up in the same place, unfortunately. So I never think you're better than somebody else or worse than somebody else. We can all do it. And I always thought to myself, in that case, because I kind of brought myself up, and I thought to myself, if somebody else can do something, why can't I? Same as any of you. We're all the same. It's not a question. We all come from a mother. And you're born into a family, and yes, it depends. You kind of become a product of whether your religion, different religions, different culture, different, depending where you're growing up. So I mean, it's but you can do it, and because somebody else can do it, you can do it as well. If Steve Jobs could come up with the mobile phone, so can you. Unfortunately, he's gone somewhere else. But I'm saying, so I always thought that. So we came to Hong Kong, and then Hong Kong was very British at that time. I was in the fashion business, and I thought to myself, there was no place like Lan Kwai Fong, like a nightlife area. If you want, because the British were quite, pardon the expression, anal. If you want to have go to a restaurant or something like that, there weren't that many street restaurants, as we all know in the United States or other places. In those years, you had to go to a hotel. There was a lot of hotels too, like a restaurant. And when you went to a hotel, because everything was formal, they used to give you. I was in the fashion business. We didn't wear, jackets. You had to wear a jacket and a tie. They used to give you a tie if you didn't have a tie. I never wore a tie in my life. I don't know how to even make it. I never understood where ties came from. And so,
like a lot of formalities to go to the hotels back then.
Yeah, that's the way the British work, And when we were in the fashion business, I didn't wear socks, basically, because we're all fashionable, like I see all the guys. And so I decided that we want to really. We need an area because my designers were coming out from North America, and this at nighttime there's nothing much to do because we weren't going to dress up, and so I thought we need some clubs, we need some restaurants and that kind of thing, and then I had hired one of my designers at the time in the fashion business. She was doing a Esprit line at the time. And came from Los Angeles, actually. And I brought her out to Hong Kong, and she moved out to Hong Kong. And then one day after training her around for 3 or 4 years, she came to me and she said, Alan, I want to leave. I said, why? She said, I want to go back to US. And I said, I miss my friend. I said, oh, wow. It was, she was good. And I thought to myself, it's going to be painful to look for someone else and train them up again for a few years.
Right.
So I said, well, why don't you bring your boyfriend out and we'll open a restaurant here? That was the brainchild behind Lan Kwai Fong, because I always thought we needed something like the Lan Kwai Fong. And so she brought him out, tall, good-looking guy. And the only thing she didn't tell me was that he was really a bartender, didn't run a restaurant in LA. And so we went around looking for places, and he came up with this Lan Kwai Fong, which was just a street name. And there was a building there with which is California Tower now. There was just, the ground floor was a supermarket selling food. And then it was owned by a Malaysian guy. The second floor was kind of a girly bar, And I thought to myself, well, I could see again. I look at things, and it was on a slope, but it was 1 block away from Queens Road, which was central, the business district. And but at that time, there was nothing here, so people didn't walk up the street, And I thought to myself, again, I look at things not for what they are. I thought, what could it be? And I saw good potential here. Keep some of the old buildings, and dress up some new buildings, the streets, and also the beautiful thing was there was a lot of flower stalls. Yeah, and because before Lan Kwai Fong in the old days they called it Matchmaker's Lane. Others used to bring their daughters or their sons to meet,
Matchmaking.
Matchmaking, yeah. So it was kind of already had something, in there, and flowers were a really important part of the Lan Kwai Fong. And so I thought there's a history here. So I took over the food court, the ground floor of California. Well, it wasn't California Town. It was called the old Yat Fung building in Chinese. And so I thought, well, I'll take it over. And again, at that time, we went to Tokyo actually to get ideas for restaurants with the guy that I brought out and his partner. And we saw different things in Tokyo because rents were so expensive on the ground floor. A lot of restaurants, karaoke bars were up on upper floors because it's cheaper. And so I thought to myself, wow, very strange because where I come from, US, most restaurants are on the ground floor. And so, but this was another thing because Hong Kong, same Asian people and very expensive property. And so why can't this work in Hong Kong, And so came back to Lan Kwai Fong because we started it. And we called it, the first restaurant was California. And it was a restaurant, based on, because there's so many expats here at the time from all different countries, from Italy, France, Germany, US, Canada, everywhere. And I thought, what could we have that could unite all the people? Well, people always looked up to LA, always looked up to California because there's the movie stars and that went resonated around the world. So we called it California, and we made it into a real 50s California restaurant, with a big bar and really the best burgers in town. It became very famous. And then I realized because that was just a sideline for me because I was doing my fashion business. And at that time I thought, well, I'll just do because after 10 o'clock at night, a lot of people used to leave because they're finished and go. There was a small club from 1997 around the corner. They used to go to the club for late night, for dancing and all that. sometimes, so how can I keep the people here? So I thought Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, um, I'll at after 10 p.m. I'll lower the lights, put up the music, hire a DJ, and really
Yeah.
create a scene. And that's what we did. And so it became very, very famous. And then we opened more restaurants around the area, upper floors down. And then I bought a lot of the property. But a lot of the young stars were hanging out. And that night, my phone became the place to be
Oh.
hang out. And we
Hmm.
had a lot of stars like Fei Wong grew up here. Wong Fei, she grew up here.
Yeah.
She was Jackie Chan. Uh, we had well the way
The
so
Four Heavenly Kings.
our Heavenly Kings.
Yeah.
Everybody came through here, because
Hmm.
they weren't famous yet, and this was the place that they could sit and really become somebody great, and so there was a real vibe in the area, and it just we're the first ones to introduce Halloween to Hong Kong because Halloween was not the British, it was more an American holiday. The British didn't know what Halloween was, and so we had a few Americans working with us, and they said, well, what, it's Halloween night. Why don't we um, celebrate? I said, well, that sounds like a good idea. So the first year, a few of the expats, dressed up in crazy costumes and went outside. And of course, the Chinese didn't know what it was, but they looked at it and thought, oh my God, what is it?
Hmm.
They thought they're on the moon. And then, but it was fun. And then the second year, a few Chinese dressed up, and young Chinese, and it's Halloween night and the same. And then it just kept on going every year, more and more Chinese dressed up. And Halloween became a very popular holiday now, all businesses. And we did the same with China because now Halloween, in China is a big, big thing because
Definitely.
it came from Hong Kong. But I was actually the one that brought Halloween here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
being creative, but growing up in the fashion business, you have to be creative, and you have to have a creative mind. Now, always think of new things and what's coming and what's happening. And these are things that are
right.
really, really important.
Yeah, I think like your advice about like being creative, also like thinking out of the box, and I see you solve a lot of different problems that come your way and took inspiration from like Japan, and when the fashion designer had to go back to the US, you always like invented some new ideas or just like went for alternate paths that would like make Lan Kwai Fong successful. And even now in China, because I traveled to a lot of different Chinese cities, from like Changsha to Wuxi to Wuhan and also Chengdu, and I found that wow, like they also have their own live houses and acoustic bars right now, and I believe like a lot of that inspiration has been taken from Lan Kwai Fong before. So
Exactly,
I'm just like, yeah, very fascinating.
exactly right. And so now, of course, we opened up a Lan Kwai Fong in Chengdu 16 years ago, still going very, very
Hmm.
strong. We were one of the pioneers actually. Because Chengdu, I love Chengdu. It's
Yes,
city that never sleeps. When I first moved there, I couldn't
right.
going to because the party secretary at that time came to see me, wanted a Lan Kwai Fong in Chengdu, and I said, Chengdu. I said, where's that? And I didn't even know, and I went there, and then I saw, wow, what a party place! Because we were on a Sunday night,
Yes.
and that's usually quiet. It was busy. Monday was busy. Tuesday, Wednesday, all night. Well, restaurants, things used to go till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I said, when do people work? Oh, they work, but they love culture. They're very cultured, and so
Yeah.
we're from there, and it became really, really very successful. And and then because of that, we continued to every now Lego Fund is so famous. Everybody comes to us. Everybody say everybody calls us. we're looking at Hainan now in a place called Haitong Wan in Sanya. And
Sanya is beautiful.
yeah, Sanya is beautiful. We signed a deal for well, we signed a deal for looking at Qingdao. Qingdao is another city that they wanted
All
Xiamen.
this great seafood and
Xiamen is another very, very good
mhm,
city. Yeah, they're like in the downtown.
yeah.
And of course Wuxi, we did something in Wuxi. It was also very, very good. And so we continue to look at, and Shanghai, we built something called the Dream Center in Shanghai. And we used to have a great club called California, in the middle of Fuxing Park, and it was an old park building we converted, and it became like it was 20 years ago, it became the hottest place. People in the middle of a park, people used to come and just it was like a magic, we were
Right.
the first ones to bring entertainment back to China in the old days, because I've been in China for 45 years, and
Yeah, it's a long time.
yeah, and so I understood. My first place in China was in Changsha, Hunan, and
Right.
I can tell you it was terrible because at that time I experienced true communism. Because
Right.
that time people we didn't have,
Before the reform?
yes, it was 45 years ago. That was where Chairman Mao,
Right.
because I opened up an office to do garments there, and so to export because the prices were so cheap. But we didn't have food, we didn't have electricity. We used to on and off. We played ping pong by candlelight at night. It was just crazy things. But I loved,
Mhm.
at that time I could see the potential. And then of course Deng Xiaoping came along and
Mhm.
went to Shenzhen and said this will be a special economic zone. And I said, especially it was all old farm and everything. And so I said special economic zone. Sure enough, he opened up China and Shenzhen today. For any of you comments, like the tech capital
Yeah.
of the world, basically. And so that was China. I could see China changing so rapidly, and then of course Xi Jinping
Right.
came along and really helped to move Hong Kong, China into the technological age. And so I believe very strongly in the future of China because I've seen China change
Mhm.
rapidly. My staff in China went from
Yeah.
not having anything to today, 2 cars, beautiful
Mhm.
home, beautiful, very good job. I'm very proud of China. And in 2008, I changed my passport. I became Chinese. So I have a
Oh,
Chinese nationality because I really believe they will be number one in the world.
yes.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So we're doing a lot
Yeah.
all over.
Mhm. Yeah, I really feel very inspired by all that you said about, and it's so like amazing hearing that you were a pioneer in that because like I love traveling to China as well because last year when I was doing an internship, I just like went to the high speed rail or I went to the like
Oh,
the airport every Friday and I just like went to a different Chinese city. So you
well,
mentioned like Qingdao and yeah.
yes, the high speed rail, they have
Hmm.
55,000 kilometers of high speed rail. And
Wow.
from Hong Kong to Shenzhen, it takes 15 minutes, 1 5 on the high speed
It's
rail.
super short.
And
Hmm.
Hong Kong, I was in Guangzhou 2 weeks ago, and I left
Hmm.
Guangzhou at nighttime. I finished business. So I was coming back to Hong Kong, so I took the high speed rail, left there 9 p.m. at night. 45-minute train to Hong Kong, high speed rail, right? 45 minutes.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
45 minutes later, at 9:45, I was in Hong Kong, went through immigration because it's all now facial recognition and very easy to go through. And by
Hmm.
10:05, I was already in my car. So the high speed rail, compared to what is everywhere else in the world, is the thing,
Right.
put everything together, China together. The rail was actually faster than flying in many places. You know, it's just
Hmm.
totally a game changer, and that's why China keeps coming up with new innovative things. It really helps their people, and it really makes things.
Yeah.
So and I tell a lot of people, especially around the world, go to Asia. Really,
Hmm.
that's the future. The system really does,
Yes.
and really is. I'm a firm believer of well, what goes on here. Hong Kong is probably one of the greatest, and the good thing is Asia is very safe. There's no
Hmm.
problems here. There's none of the other things. I mean, I grew up in Canada, U.S. as a kid, so you know
Right.
cultures very well, both cultures very well. But I just think for everyone here, travel makes you smart. The more you travel, the more you see,
Hmm.
understand different cultures, be very open-minded, and always be confident in yourself. Be very positive. I mean, those are the things that are very good. Everything you can do. If somebody else can do it,
Hmm.
can do. Remember that. And it's really something
Thank you.
that is really
Hmm.
important, because you guys are the future, and especially now with tech, with everything coming, think out of the box and just make things happen, present it in a different way, in a fashionable way, and you'll all do very well.
Thank you so much,
Hey,
Dr.
so
Allen.
I
And
think that, yeah, I've got to run to another meeting.
mhm,
But an
yeah, I
hour.
really appreciate all the advice, and I totally agree on you about like us being able to travel, especially with like the convenience of Hong Kong right now, and also like how interconnected it is, like with China, and how we could just utilize the high-speed rail to travel to different places. It is like completely and totally like a bridge between the East and West. And so I really appreciate your time today, Dr. Allen. Hope you have like
Well,
a wonderful,
thank you very
yeah.
much. It's a pleasure to speak to all of the young people, and you've got followers here. I can see it's so. Have a great time, and I know many of you are going to sleep and are up late and
Mhm.
whatever.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay,
Dr. Allen.
take care. Okay,
Yeah. Take care too. Have a wonderful day.
okay, thanks.
Bye.